What if burnout doesn't just happen at the end of the season? What if burnout actually starts right now? Not when you're finally feeling exhausted, not when focus starts slipping, and not when recovery completely breaks down, but months earlier, when small physiological stressors begin accumulating faster than the body can recover from them. Because here's the reality: the work that you put in during mid-season largely determines whether you'll experience burnout at the end of the season. And once burnout arrives, it becomes much harder to recover from than it is to prevent. So today, we're going to discuss how drivers, pit crew athletes, and team owners and motorsports professionals can identify burnout before it happens and build the physiology required to sustain performance all season long. Let's break it down. Yes, welcome back to Breaking Boundaries for Champions, the only high performance health podcast for motorsports professionals. I'm Jeffrey Mort, your host and personal high performance health coach and founder of Victory Lane Wellness, where we help drivers, crew athletes, and motorsports leaders optimize performance, recovery, resilience, and longevity through naturally fueled high performance health. And if you enjoy conversations around physiology, recovery, and longevity, and performance, be sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Because today's topic may be one of the most important conversations we've had all season: burnout. But not the burnout everyone talks about, the burnout that begins long before you feel it. You see, most people believe burnout is simply the price you pay for success. You push hard, you grind, you sacrifice, and eventually you crash, especially in motorsports. And honestly, that belief makes sense. Look at the demands of NASCAR in a typical season: constant travel, extreme competition pressure, long hours, irregular sleep schedules, sometimes racing past midnight, a heavy reliance on caffeine, continuous decision making, very little true off-season. And by mid-season, many people begin feeling mentally drained, physically slower, less motivated, less resilient, and they might assume that that is normal. But here's what I want you to understand. Mid-season is where burnout prevention happens, because if you wait until you're burned out, you're already behind. You see, burnout isn't usually caused by one bad week. Burnout is accumulated physiological debt. It's the result of stressors accumulating faster than recovery. It's the body sending repeated signals that something underneath that surface needs attention. And this is where high performance health becomes different, because waiting for something to break is an expensive strategy. Motorsports professionals spend enormous amounts of time maintaining race cars, pit equipment, haulers, facilities, yet many high performers wait until something feels wrong before paying attention to their own physiology, or they ignore it altogether. And the irony is that the most important performance vehicle they'll ever own isn't sitting in the garage or the hauler. It's the body, the brain, and the mind that they bring to the track every single weekend that's most important for your legacy. So, what's really underneath burnout? What we see in clinical practice are typically two major categories: deficiencies and toxicities. The only two categories that really cost the body energy and move it away from optimal function. So let's break those down. Deficiencies, what are we talking about here? Deficiencies might include things like magnesium and zinc, B vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids. Vitamin D3 is an important one, especially antioxidants. But deficiencies aren't only nutritional. You can also become deficient in sleep, in proper exercise, in sunlight exposure, which is very important, in recovery, and especially nervous system regulation. Every deficiency reduces the body's ability to adapt to stress. Now, what about toxicities? We have many toxicities, and this is where motorsports becomes really unique because environmental exposures might include exhaust fumes, tire and track compounds, brake dust, solvents, shop chemicals, travel stress, chronic inflammation, even low-grade inflammation, blood sugar instability, excessive caffeine, yes, even alcohol, overtraining, as we talked about 2 episodes ago. Many people think that overtraining builds performance, but overtraining without recovery creates another form of physiological toxicity. But the good news, yes, there's always good news. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the train. The good news is we don't have to guess. One of my favorite things about modern science of high performance health is that we can measure. And at Victory Lane Wellness, we use advanced at home functional testing, or you can even do these right at the track. You can keep these right in your bus or your hauler to be able to get these tests done even at the track. And this allows us to identify the specific deficiencies and toxicities affecting performance. Because as you already know, what is not measured cannot be optimized. So, a great example of this is our Big Five functional lab bundle. This evaluates minerals and metals. This is a great predictor of the 7 stages of burnout. I actually have a couple of these lab tests right here. Here's the minerals and metals test. Comes in a kit just like this. The organic acids test. This looks at gut health, metabolism, vitamins, antioxidants. The food sensitivity test, this is one of my favorite ones that measures delayed immune reactions from foods that you might think are even healthy for you. Yes, things like spinach and strawberries and pineapple, even meat and dairy, gluten, dairy, eggs, almonds, and chicken are actually the top 5 food sensitivities that can cause delayed immune reactions and delayed inflammation. The last 2 tests in that Big Five bundle, the hormone and stress test, this is another powerful tool for burnout warnings. And then, of course, the inflammation test. Inflammation is known as the silent killer. And this one here can really show your levels of inflammation. We talked about that, I believe, on last week's podcast episode. Now, instead of guessing or a one size fits all approach, we use this data to create a personalized performance roadmap for you, not somebody else, specifically for you. And after we reveal those deficiencies and toxicities with the advanced health tests, the goal becomes to remove those toxicities. We do this safely and naturally. We replace those deficiencies. We also do that very strategically. It's not, more is better. Of course, that's the mentality of some people, but we know that more is not always better. We replace those deficiencies strategically, and then we rebalance the systems of the body, and we retain for long-term performance. This is our 5 R's framework. It works magnificently. We've been using it in clinical practice it's been used for decades now. And this is the strategy that I just shared with you. And then replacing deficiencies. Let's talk about that. Depending on the results, we may recommend things like daily nutritional support or a daily activated multivitamin. These are foundational. A daily fruit and vegetable blend. This is for the powerful antioxidants as well as some alkalizing vitamin C. That's very powerful for antioxidants as well. Most clients do need full spectrum magnesium. Some clients need a calcium and magnesium supplement. Omega-3 support and vitamin D3, these are also foundational. And in many client cases, we do recommend the Ultimate Sleep Help Protocol because recovery happens more during sleep than any other time of the day. Now, you might be wondering, what about removing those toxicities? Well, depending on the results, we may recommend a functional medicine detox, either a 7, 14, or 21-day protocol for you, as well as a heavy metal detoxification protocol. And that would be depending on the results of that minerals and metals test. We might remove toxicities with inflammation reduction, blood sugar stabilization, improved recovery strategies, and especially stress reduction and stress management, including our proprietary NeuroSpeed mental performance programming system. And these are all done safely, they're all done naturally. Everything that we do has scientific efficacy, it's all backed by science. Now, let's talk a little bit about health tech for burnout prevention. Technology, it can also help us stay ahead of that burnout. And some of our favorites include infrared sauna. I use sauna probably in the wintertime more days than not, and in the heat in the summertime, probably at least 3 days a week. This supports circulation, detoxification, recovery, and relaxation, and it also creates heat shock proteins, and that's part of the recovery and resilience building from sauna. But this can also be training where you can actually be more resilient in those hotter races, and may not need that cool suit to be able to function at highest capacity. You can build up your resistance and your tolerance to that heat with training in an infrared sauna. We also recommend PEMF. This stands for pulsed electromagnetic frequency, which supports recovery, also detoxification, and especially nervous system balance. We like to do heart rate variability tracking. HRV provides insight into stress load and recovery capacity. Think of it as a dashboard gauge for resilience. And then the last one I'll mention here is the continuous glucose monitoring. A CGM can reveal blood sugar instability before energy crashes become obvious, because energy management is burnout prevention. So imagine two competing top series driver athletes. Both have the same workload, the same travel schedule, same race weekends. One waits until burnout arrives, but the other is tracking recovery, measuring physiology, replacing deficiency, removing toxicities, and adjusts throughout the season. Now, who finishes stronger? Who performs better? Who do you think has that champion's edge and a longer career? By now, it's clear that you already know the answer. Well, I see the white flag. The final lap here is happening at today's episode. Burnout is not a late season problem. Burnout is a mid-season opportunity. And the work that you do now determines how you finish. Because high performance health isn't about pushing harder, it's about recovering smarter. The edge doesn't come from surviving stress, the edge comes from building the physiology to handle it. If you're the kind of person who's serious about optimizing your performance, recovery, resilience, longevity, and your legacy, you can apply to work with us at Victory Lane Wellness over at victorylanewellness.com. And every enrollment supports our Give Back initiative called Race for a Reason, providing advanced functional testing for chronically ill children through racing-related charities. We will see you in Victory Lane. Bye-bye.